Kia ora guys, welcome to Talking About Sports with Raman. So yeah, on this week's blog I'll just be going into a bit of detail in terms of the Warriors versus Sydney Roosters game that happened yesterday, 21st of March 2025. Yeah, so it was a win at all costs. You could say that was, one of the best defensive efforts that the Warriors have actually had for quite some time. But personally, I think both sides were actually as bad as each other. I mean, Sydney Roosters looked good early on, but they basically were just flat throughout the second half of the game. And I think that's when the Warriors capitalized on a lot of the schoolboy errors that the Roosters were making, like drop passes, drop catches, dumb, silly kicks sort of thing. I think that was a really big thing that I noticed with the Roosters. Also, on their last tackle sets, they managed to get down into a half, but they weren't just, capitalizing on the pressure. And I think the Warriors, in terms of that, they used that potential to their advantage and basically capitalized on the mistakes of the Roosters, which got them, two tries in the second half versus one in the first half. I was a little nervous going into the second half, being down 6-4 at the end of the first half and the miss from Luke Metcalf. It was a beautiful, fantastic try. It was actually Ali Leatua that scored the first try for the Warriors. It was just fantastic. But yeah, I think on the basis of that, just a bit of a confidence issue still in our halves. It took, chance. It took Chanel Harris to beat it, to go on the dive bomb and basically, chip the kick up and get the return back and score a try. And I think that personally was the momentum shift for the Warriors that they needed for the remaining of the 20 minutes in the second half. So, 6-4 at the end of the first half, but, under Tavita's kick, it was actually fantastic. The crowd went wild. It was fantastic, and yeah, as a loyal, passionate fan of the Warriors, there was a lot of heartache at the end of the first half, being like, well, yeah, there were just a lot of grim faces, at the stadium, people sort of holding on to hope and coming together. And I was actually at the north end instead of the south stand, so I was standing right up against the fence where all the bars and stuff are. And yeah, I think the atmosphere down there was pretty cool, especially when the boys scored in the second half down there on the back of Tavita's kick. But yeah, just coming back into it, I personally feel that the Warriors, 2 wins now on the trot at home. They won back-to-back wins with the same squad. So it's been 3 times now with the same squad. Obviously, the squad that lost in Las Vegas, Webby decided to put that squad against the Manly Seagulls, as we saw, the previous week. They managed to run all right over the Eagles, which was great. Then they backed it up at home. I mean, it wasn't a comfortable win. It was more in the sense of, all right, let's see how many tries we need to score in order to win this game, because our kicking game was actually atrocious. Overall, the Warriors were 12 points better than the Roosters if our kicks had actually gone over. But, 8-point win, I'm actually quite comfortable. Versus, picking 24-16 for the Warriors, I was only 10 points out. So, yeah, so far my picks have actually been alright this week. But, yeah, in terms of that, it was great to see, the leadership in the centres. Ali Leatua, Adam Pompey had a fantastic game. And my personal man of the match that I would actually have to give to his Chance. He just worked so hard on the defensive unit. He was setting up, in the backs. And, with 314 metres, run metres, he was a stat peddler for the game last night. So, yeah, that was fantastic to see Chance actually stepping up to the table, week in, week out. And it's now been 2 weeks in a row that the Warriors have actually looked like a side coming together early in the season. And the wins are so crucial early in the season because they actually define at the later stages of the season if those early wins, have been met and, injuries happen or just random losses mid-season, end of season. You want to get those early wins in first so your side is comfortable in the top 8 and able to compete in the September finals. So, yeah, just coming back to in terms of some other things. So, as we know, the Roosters have actually only played the Warriors 3 times in the last 8 years. Now it's the 4 times in the last 9 years. And, out of those games, the Roosters actually had a bit more of a margin edge over the Warriors. I remember the last time the Warriors played there. They lost against the Roosters quite heavily. It was raining. But we had beat them, three at least once out of the 8 years that they came. That was 14-13. And then yesterday we beat them comfortably in the end 14-6 in the last 10 minutes. So I think, the performance that the Warriors gave throughout the whole game actually showed for once they can play an 80-minute game based on the fact that the opposition, yeah, we're matching them on the defensive side of things. But personally, watching that game, it was more in the sense of the crowd getting behind the Warriors for the second week. And I think, it's going to be interesting to see what happens against the Tigers in Campbellton next week. Tigers are looking like they're on the rise, and I think that game could actually potentially be close. They have a slightly better halves combination than we do, but I think we have a bit more experience in our forward pack. So on the basis of that, the Warriors might go in with their heads held high with 2 games under their belt in a row, and looking to get that road win before they face on the Melbourne Storm later in April. But yeah, just something to note: the Roosters actually lost round 1 against the Broncos. The Broncos obviously struggled against Canberra their second game. That was a game that the Warriors lost by 20 points, and then the Broncos went on to beat the Cowboys last night at home. So we're not there. We're not far off, because the Roosters last week actually beat Penrith by 6 points, and then they lost by the Warriors by 8. So the Warriors early on in the first rounds are actually right up there, and it's comfortable at this stage to say we're in the top 8. Pending results also for Saturday games as well as Sunday. But yeah, it's good to know that Penrith lost to Melbourne. That's a game coming up for the Warriors in the next 2 games, and that game was close. So this year's competition, I think everyone in the round 1, they weren't fully set in motion yet, but I think round 2, 3, 4, as well as round 5, we'll start to see what the top 4 is shaping up to look like early in the first sort of fifth of the season. So yeah, my outstanding players that I actually liked watching yesterday, Leatua had a great game, but unfortunate that Roger might be on the sidelines for a few weeks. I felt like he had some good hit meters. James Fisher-Harris was a work unit in the forwards. Egan, yeah, I'm still not sold on Wade Egan yet. I feel that he is too indecisive with some of his carries, and then that confuses some of the halves combination there. But when he's on, and he does actually fire away. So he's a good little player. Yeah, another player that I personally said earlier was Chance. I think he had a fantastic game. But yeah, I was just there to enjoy the game yesterday personally. I was there with my best mate, having a good time. We hadn't been out for a while to the Warriors game. And yeah, it was just good to see the atmosphere. They got about 23,000, bums on seats yesterday. So that was fantastic to see. And yeah, they actually had a dance crew for halftime entertainment for once. So it's kind of, a bit different from the light show or any cultural sort of groups. So that was cool for them to get the recognition as a dance crew. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next home game. I think that's against Broncos coming up in April, back at Mount Smart. Tickets on sale for $15 special. So that's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, there's other results to come this week. Yeah, I'm really excited between the Tigers and Dolphins game tonight. That's away for the Tigers, home for the Dolphins. And also another game that I'm quite excited for on Sunday night is the Manly Seagulls versus the Canberra Raiders. So I think that's going to be a pretty cool match to watch. Yeah, so we've had, Melbourne Storm versus Penrith. Most likely that is probably at this stage the game of the round, as well as the Warriors Roosters, and then obviously the Sea Eagles, Canberra Raiders later on Sunday. So yeah, I'll have another video later on during the week of next week. Looking at the squad for who takes on the Tigers, as well as an in-cap review of the game against the Tigers. So peace out, guys, and yeah, it's great that the Warriors have started the season on a good note. And I personally feel that they were just on holiday at Vegas. Don't know, it's still early to tell in the season. But, so far, the boys have been showing up, and there's faith and trust that, the same squad, same side has won 2 games in a row at Mount Smart. We'll see what happens when they play away, because obviously they're away from New Zealand next week. So we'll see if they can win games overseas away from home. So that will be the real test next week. Sure, guys. Thank you. Guys, have an awesome weekend. Cheers.